It's like you're baking it out.
I call this city commission meeting to order Tuesday, June 23rd, 2026. Could you join me in the flag salute?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, could we have Reverend Tom Werman from St. John Lutheran Church come forward and lead us in prayer?
Let us pray. Living God, you are above all and through all and in all. We pray for our city, for this community, giving thanks for its people and its leaders. Forgive us our brokenness and where we have harmed others, and deliver us from our faults and our pride. Grant us strength, goodness, and wisdom to pursue your truth, to love and care for our neighbors, and to show compassion for all in need. Grace our civic leaders that this may be a place of harmony, reconciliation, and peace. Guide them in their decisions, that they may serve the common good in all faithfulness. For your name we bless, our Maker, Healer, and Sustainer. Amen.
Thank you. All right, I have a proclamation for America 250th Day. Could you join me up front? I feel a little underdressed here. All right. City of Pittsburg, Kansas proclamation, America 250, celebrating the 250th anniversary of the United States of America. Whereas on July 4th, 2026, the United States of America will commemorate the 250th anniversary of the adoption of the Declaration of Independence, marking a historic milestone in our nation's journey towards liberty, self-government, and the pursuit of a more perfect union. And whereas the semi-quincentennial of the United States presents an opportunity for Americans to reflect upon our nation's history, honor the courage and sacrifices of those who serve, secure, and preserve our freedoms, and celebrate the enduring ideas upon which our nation was founded. And whereas the citizens in Pittsburgh recognize the importance of preserving our shared heritage and inspiring future generations through education, civic engagement, historical preservation, and community service. And whereas organizations such as National Society Daughters of American Revolution and the Sons of American Revolution, including Oceanus Hospice Chapter and the Little Balkans Chapter, have demonstrated a steadfast commitment to promoting patriotism, preserving American history, and educating citizens on the principles that shaped our nation. And whereas American 250 provides an opportunity for all citizens to celebrate the people, events, and ideas that has defined our nation over the past 2.5 centuries, while looking forward to the promise of the future. Now therefore, I, Chuck Mansell, Mayor of the City of Pittsburg, Kansas, do hereby proclaim July 4th, 2026, America 250 Day. Encourage all residents to join in commemorating the 250th anniversary of the United States of America through acts of service, historical reflection, educational activities, and celebration that honor the nation's past and inspire its future. All right. Would you like to say a few words? Or?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
All right, thank you.
Thank you very much.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, moving to the consent agenda. Are there any items to be removed from the consent agenda?
I'd like item A for discussion.
Item A. All right, excluding item A, is there a motion to approve item B, approval of appropriation ordinance for the period ending June 23rd, 2026, subject to the release of HUD expenditures when funds are received?
Move to approve.
It's been moved.
Second.
Been moved and second. All in favor, roll call vote?
Brooks.
Yes.
Height. Yes. Wintel.
Yes.
Perry.
Yes.
Sigley.
Yes.
All right, item A, approval of June 9th, 2026 City Commission meeting minutes.
Okay, Mr. Mayor, the reason why I had those requests for this to be pulled directly is just the comments and the description of the final portions of the fraud, the bank fraud the city endured. I just want to make it clear when we're going over the itemized numbers, how much was actually taken and what was recovered, the verbiage that was used. I guess confused some members of the community on what took place or how it took place. Ultimately, the large number of the money was returned through the great work of the staff and employees reacting to it. But the total amount in the minutes was reflected as we had received all the money back, and that wasn't the case. And I just want to make sure that's clear and the public understands that the amount of money was recovered through also freezing of the accounts as well as an insurance policy claim being enacted and paid out. And that's how the remainder of the money. And I wasn't aware until yesterday about the remaining amount. There was a discrepancy of roughly $14,000 that the insurance company, through speaking with Darren, that they had agreed to pay out. Just to be clear, there was a $50,000 deductible that still had to be paid out to enact that insurance policy to recover a $250,000 gap in what was returned. And that's it.
I'd just like to follow up. I met with Darren Monday and asked him for a copy of the claim and the payout on that $250,000. And we paid $50,000 deductible, but like DJ said, there was a 14,000 some odd cents that wasn't paid. And Darren, I asked him for this Monday and he provided just a few minutes ago, but I don't see on here where the breakdown of the 214,000. That's what I asked for also. But.
So, to DJ's point, yeah, we read the minutes. My exact words were the city was able to recover. I used the word recoup. Obviously, recoup means to regain something lost. We only recovered. Let me just walk you through this if I can get this machine to work, Chuck. I tried to color code it, but you know. I'm just, I don't want to go too small. Let's see. Okay, just to clarify, because it's very confusing. The insurance was very helpful. We walked them through it the last couple of days and said, hey, we just want to make sure we get this right, because Chuck and DJ had come in and said, hey, that we want to make sure the minutes reflect the right wording, which we did. So thanks for that, DJ. The 1.76 million is at the top of this. That's the fraud. Everything before the gray line is the activity that we had with our insurance company. We are initially, we initially collected $162,000 that was transferred as part of the bank fraud. That gave us an initial loss estimate that was unrecovered from the banks of $1,598,288. At that point, the insurance kicked in and said, okay, we had contacted them and said, you know, hey, we've had this happen. They gave us the insurance deductible credit of $50,000 applied to that loss. So that made our new initial reimbursable loss, which is the second column in red, $1,548,288.50. far more than our insurance would cover, obviously. So at that point, the initial insurance payment applied to us was the $250, which is the value of our policy. Hence the gray line, something happened on May 7th. We, thanks to Dawn and the good work by the police department, they had frozen the other main body of money and recovered it. So we recovered another $1,333,784.31. So that second green bar to the gray line that's the fully recovered amount. That's the $162,000 we originally recovered and the $1,333,000 that we recovered for a total of $1,495,986.07. 85% of the original total. At that point, we contacted our insurance company and said, hey, we know you've already given us credit for our deductible and you sent us a check, but we just recovered another $1,333,000. How will that affect, our agreement per our insurance policy? So they said, okay, now your new true loss, the money that we were frauded out of, the $1,760,000, less the amount we've recovered, is now $264,504. Quite a bit less than the $1,598,000, which we originally thought our uncovered amount was. At that point, doing their math, they would apply their $50,000 deductible again. It's not twice, but it's a new formula. So they have to go back and say, okay, we've already given the city this check for $50,000. Their new reimbursable loss amount is not $1,548,288.50. It's $214,504. Does everybody see that? Am I going? I'm going to get the colors right. So that's our new reimbursable loss. The interesting thing about that number is it's less than our policy. The other number was $1,598,000, much greater than our policy was. So all of a sudden, our reimbursable loss is $214,504, less than our policy. So the insurance company at that point said, okay, well, we've already issued you a payment for $250,000 to cover it, and they're not in the habit of giving people money more than they need per the policy. We issued a check back to them for $35,495.81. That's the difference between our deductible and that's where the $14,000 and change comes from. So all said and done, I know it's confusing. I tried to use color. I tried to go linear. We recouped roughly 98% of it between the hard work of investigators getting our money back and the insurance policy. And our deductible was not $50,000, but because the numbers worked out this way, our deductible was $35,495.81.
Thanks for explaining
Makes
that,
sense,
Darren.
yeah.
And we both agreed that these people stowed, if you put that back up there for a minute, those bad actors stowed $264,504.19 from taxpayers.
Well, they stole $1,706,000, Mayor.
Yeah, but we got most of that back, but they ended up with that much money, right?
I don't know them. I don't know if they had their accounts frozen. I don't know what they did.
Yeah. Well, that's what you told me in the office.
I know the money were out, yeah.
Yeah.
And my point to DJ's minutes is we recouped what we recouped. We didn't, but we only recovered the $1,495,000. But we recouped everything other than the deductible, which is $35,495.
Cool.
Any other questions?
No, thank you for explaining that out too, because there was lots
You
of
bet.
confusion on how it worked.
All right, is there a motion to approve?
Mayor.
Henry's got something.
Mayor, yeah, in the minutes regarding ordinance number S, it says 115, but it should be 1115, just if you would note that when you approve the meeting minutes that it's S-1115 and not S-115.
So I need to say
Just a
that.
typo in
Yeah.
there, but yeah,
So-
we just need to make that change. So if you could make the motion to approve the minutes with that particular change, that would be great.
Well, so there's another one too, right, on the ordinance G 139 or 1391 on the FIFA
Two amendments,
there's
Yeah.
2 typos.
and the difference between recoup and recover?
Yeah.
So there's
Yep.
3.
So,
So we need a motion to,
yeah, I'll make a motion to accept the amended minutes from last meeting, which are ordinance number S 1115, amending it to that rather than S 115. And then the second change would be to amend the ordinance number G 1391 typo, which was originally listed as G 1390, having to do with the FIFA alcohol ordinance.
That's correct, yep.
And then also the bank fraud change. Originally, the minutes reflected city was able to recover all funds. It's been amended to city was able to recoup all funds. So I would make that motion with those changes.
Is there a motion and a second made? Is there a second?
Stu, with your motion, if you would, just highlight the percentage at the end of that. That's what I would have
City
added.
was able to recoup 98% of the funds.
Yeah,
That'd be good.
my second.
All right. Moved and second. Roll call vote.
Brooks.
Yes.
Height.
Yes.
Mansell.
Yes.
Perry.
Yes.
Sigley.
Yes.
All right. We have a special presentation. Assessed valuation. The Crawford County Clerk will present the assessed valuation received for file.
Good evening, Commissioners. I have some, I did not get these over, Tammy, I apologize about that. Okay.
Thank you for putting it together. Thanks.
Thanks. I appreciate it.
Oh, you used big print.
Sorry about that, it is a little.
Hold it farther away from your face.
Okay. Just to explain a little bit, I'm Lisa Lusker, County Clerk, where we are in the process of valuations and prepping for tax season. Zach Edwards, the appraiser, has finalized all of his values for this year. I have taken them and turned them into each individual entity's numbers and set R&Rs, revenue neutral rates. So now on the 15th, I've handed them out to all the entities in the county to start their budgets. So I assume that's where you guys are in the process. Now you have hard numbers to plug into your budgets. So just to explain a little bit, the steps for setting the revenue neutral rate. I know I just said this, but the appraiser finishes the values and gives them to me to upload into our software. We have separate software systems. I will run all the reports and balance the values that transferred over. I have to make sure there's no discrepancies, like missing values from a parcel that we didn't transfer over to our software. Note partial and full exemptions. Maybe there's a classification to a property that didn't come over correctly. Excuse me. Then on June 1st, the state sends their upload for the state assessed utilities value. So then again, I run reports to fix the issues. Then we kind of come up with a number. Once the values are correct and matching on all the reports, I figure the amount of money that was approved on the prior year's budget, well, this year's budget, but that was approved last year to collect, and then figure out the revenue neutral rate. So I take last year's amount of tax money generated, the last year, so that would be, we're still generating it this year, but the amount of tax money that was approved to raise and divide it by this year's valuation. So basically, it's just a formula that matches last year's. So if you wanted to collect the same amount of money that you collected for the last year's budget, using this year's valuations. That's what the R&R is. The higher the amount of the assessed value, the lower the R&R. And one note, it's really important to remember that the valuations are a snapshot in time. Valuations will fluctuate all year round. We're constantly making adjustments, exemptions. Sometimes the classifications change. People buy and sell. So the only time we actually stop changes being made to the values is when I'm setting these R&Rs. So we're actually back on to change in values again. So that's where we are. So again, it's a snapshot in time. It's the snapshot from June. So does anybody have any questions?
Thank you for coming today and giving an explanation of this process. I appreciate your time yesterday too. I met with Lisa to kind of sit down and go over this so I have a better understanding of the changes and where we're currently at. As we know, last year there was some issues with the way this process went. The hospital was still on the docket showing that it was there and that we were still being assessed against it. And can you explain how that's working and that you took that off this year to make sure it wasn't rolled into it?
I did, yes. So last year, it was in the total valuation, so it would have raised the R&R a little bit. However, you guys exceeded, so you did all the things right. You had the hearings and all. Your valuation, and you would also, more importantly, you used almost the correct valuation for the budget building. Just the only discrepancy was the RHID and TIF amount, so that wasn't backed out. So that's what made the mill levy go up a little bit. But yeah, this year I just went ahead and took the value out of the hospital. I mean, it's a huge chunk of money. It's like $15 million, and we all know that they're going to get exempted. They just haven't.
So what do they need to do exactly to get off the rolls as a taxable entity?
They have to be approved by the Board of Tax Appeals. So they have to apply, go through that process, which I think usually takes about a year. It could be more, it could be less, I don't know. But because they're a hospital, we know they're not going to pay the taxes, and we know that if they do pay the taxes, we're just going to have to turn around the next year when they get approved and reimburse them, so. So anyway, that was taken out of the value this year. On what I gave you, it kind of, the last page breaks it down a little bit. Real estate valuation was $175,044,679. Personal property was lower this year. There were exemptions to personal lots of exemptions to personal property through legislation, so that definitely cut down a little bit on values. So state assessed utilities, they went up a little bit. Severed minerals always stays the same. So the total was $187,466, and that's the base of what you'll start building your budget on. Now, we've discussed, I met with Darren and Jay and Missy and Kim, and we had a bunch, and Jim Emerson and Zach Edwards, the appraiser. We had a really great meeting last week. We discussed basically all the parcels that we think are going to go exempt, some that have come back on the tax roll. We were able to communicate about, there were some that I wasn't sure on because I don't know what the use is going to be. They were sold, so they automatically come back on the tax roll. We just didn't want that to happen, what happened last year, to happen again. So the discussion was really good. I think everything went really smoothly. There were some CHIP properties, which is your program, Community Housing Incentive Program.
Yep.
Yeah.
Good job.
Great program, but some of those were on the tax rolls, but they need to be included in that TIF RID amount because they will be exempted. The amount should be backed out. So I did go over it with Missy the amount that you guys should be backing off. So I think everybody has we're all on the same page with the numbers.
And am I clear that the homes that are in the CHIP program will stay off the tax rolls the entire time they're being built, but once the owner takes over property, then it shifts? Or is it the entire time the property owner, and maybe Kim can
Well,
answer.
you're probably much more.
Yeah, no. So we did that agreement with the county, the school district, and the city. So if I pay out a $20,000 incentive on a CHIP house, which is the 10%, let's say, of the cost to build, then they will forego that additional property tax until that $20,000 is paid back into the CHIP account. Then it's released to all taxing entities, minus 8 mills for the school district.
Right, and then, so how's that tracked? Is that tracked through your office? Do you track that, Lisa, as well?
We're gonna work together to do that.
Okay,
Yep,
perfect.
yep, both. So once somebody applies for the CHIP, they do that when they get their building permit. They apply for the CHIP and they say, hey, we're gonna build a house and we think we're gonna sell it to a low to moderate income individual. Great. They get to the end, they get the C of O, the home's built, they sell to a low to moderate qualified buyer. Then they submit to me part 2 and request their incentive. Then I check all their receipts, their invoices, their spend. And then once we approve that, then we give the county the green light, send them the documents that she needs to certify that, and then they will send those incentives. Just like the RID disbursements, when they come in, it'll go back into the CHIP account instead of to the developer for RID.
Kim,
And then-
since the CHIP program's relatively new, how many houses are there? There's not that many yet, are there?
So there's 18 homes registered, but we've only closed out 4. So we have 4 homes on the tax roll right now that we've paid an incentive out. So, but we've got several more that are gonna close out here pretty quick, and we're reviewing 3 right now for closeout, so
Clearly,
we'll have
it's a-
7 more.
It's a great program, because there's lots of people jumping into it, and it's helping people in that group that needs those level of houses, so.
It really is, it's getting them standing on what was an empty, probably land bank lot that wasn't on the tax rolls anyway, so.
Right.
The trick is when Lisa goes in November
For the
and,
final.
yeah, and
October,
certifies, any house that comes on between now and then won't necessarily be in there. So what Kim and her team did was take all the chips, take the pipeline. They said there's 4 already in it, and then we try to determine, by the time Lisa goes and does hers work, which other ones will have come into the program so we can have the most accurate number. So traditionally, when you change our mill rate, it's like by 1/1000% or something. I mean, last year it was like over a mill. So the more accurate we can be with the budget number we're submitting now, the less you'll have to tweak our number and have that mill change.
But we know
Absolutely.
the CHIP houses, the 4 currently that we know about, there's
They're
gonna
in
be a
that.
couple more, a few more go up out of the 18 that you're currently working on.
Yeah, so there's 4 officially closed out. We received a 5th that we were processing when we met with them, so we went ahead and counted that. And then we just received 2 more for closeout last Friday, which is awesome.
That's good news.
So they've
Yeah.
qualified buyers, have bought them, and yeah, so
Good.
it's working. It's just,
Good.
it's new, so,
It's the math.
yeah.
So
yeah.
Lisa, this
Thank you.
total assessed valuation, 187,004.
Yep.
466. You did your formula to set the mill, and that is it. Right now, it's 52, hard to read, 006.
That 52.006 was last year's.
Last year's?
That's last year's
So
mill
you
levy.
don't have this year's yet?
Well, that's what you're gonna build.
Yeah.
I have the revenue neutral rate.
Yeah, I see that. It's
So,
39.
yeah, which in talking, and just in listening and reading what you guys have talked about, it sounds like you're gonna try to lower.
We are.
So, anyway, the revenue neutral rate is higher this year because, well, just several factors, but mainly because of the valuation last year. So, but again, it sounds like you guys are gonna lower it
And
pretty
for
well,
clarity,
so.
that's part of what's being asked, is the numbers that are on here are reflecting last year's number, and those were not actually correct to what valuation was set at. So we are starting at that point, but the city and the commission are moving to go below that to make it right.
Right. The thing is, you'll need as much money as you need for your budget. I mean, it doesn't matter to me. It's you'll build your budget responsibly. But our goal, and especially our goal last week, was to make the valuation that you're going to build it on as accurate as possible, because we know if we leave those, the full amount of those CHIP properties. I mean, I know we're only talking $80,000 in assessed value with the 4 or 5 homes, whatever it is, but especially the hospital, the RHID, neighborhood revitalization we talked about, that has to be backed out. So basically, you want to get your number as fine-tuned and as low as you think is going to be the value, because that way you're more accurate. And if we end up, usually, you either gain or lose value a little bit. I mean, not usually very much, but obviously in last year's case, it was $3-point-something million in assessed value, so that did raise up the mill. But normally, things will, get a little bit higher. You'll have new construction or whatever. So that way your mill can go down because you're spreading your budget over more properties and more value. So that's what our goal was, to get as close to the bottom line number as possible so that you can have as accurate a possible number to build your budget on.
So that revenue neutral rate, that's what it's gonna be?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. And again, it's almost 50, so you've already expressed that you guys want to go lower, so you
It's
probably.
kind of moot at this point because of what we're doing.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep. I did look back, historically, your revenue neutral rate's usually between 46 and 48, so, I mean, we're really not that far off. Does anybody else have any questions about the information I've given you?
Not so much your information you provided, and again, I appreciate you building these packets and bringing that.
Yeah.
So everybody can see that and kind of digest the process. We talked a little bit about Zach explaining the evaluation process. Is he able to do that?
I'm sure he would love to. He's here today, too.
Why not?
Do you want me to just kind of stand by in case you
Yes.
need anything else? Sure.
One of the big concerns that we're having, I'm having from community, is not understanding the process of how evaluations come together, what drives that, what formula you use. And I know it's complicated, but do your best to try to explain to the public how you come about evaluation for each area.
Yeah, so by statute, the appraiser's office sets property values as of January 1st each year, and the goal is market value. We are graded on that through state standards. They run sales ratios on us. Anytime a property sells, they'll use our last certified value, and they want our value to be within 10% of that sell price. So we do all local market analysis on residential and commercial properties. We sales studies, we do some income studies, regression analysis. We do a lot. We do a lot of analysis and put them into our mass appraisal system, and it helps generate values for all individual properties. Because we do mass appraisal and it's different than a fee appraisal, we don't get inside of homes and don't always get all exact information. We can't say if everything's got top-of-the-line appliances, granite countertops, all that type of stuff. So we grade things based on construction quality, physical condition, and then location adjustments. And then our system will help generate a number of values, about 11 values that it spits out, and we try to pick on those values what we think is the most accurate for each property. That's on residential stuff. Commercial is a little bit different. We can do income approach. We don't do a whole lot of sales comparables on commercial just because there's such a variance of commercial sales. And then cost analysis on those. So that's how we do.
Where are we right now?
Kind of our
for this
process.
next year in the way of assessments?
The overall valuation from our standpoint, like from our numbers before other adjustments, was roughly an increase of 3% due to market. You add in new construction, it went a little bit higher. It was closer to 6%. But market increase alone was roughly 3%.
So everybody's assessment's going to go up by 3%.
Rough, it's not exactly 3 across the board. That's kind of an average for your area, for the taxing entities, for the city properties. And it's never going to be exactly the same, because we do, we field check building permits every year. Some locations become more popular than others, and so some areas may go up a little bit more than another. There's a lot of different situations and factors that go into it. Then I got 6 guys that are setting the value too, and each one of them are making a decision on a property and may not, one guy might go 4% on a property and another one might go 4.1. It's never gonna be exactly identical. It's a lot of factors, really.
So each one has a different assessment of the valuation?
Each property is different. Each property is unique, really. You might have 2 identical houses on 2 different land. The land size might be different, and that can cause a little bit of a variation on the valuation.
So you could have 2 assessing one piece of property, and they both could come up with different numbers?
Well, they won't both do one property, but they could essentially, because the program's gonna generate, like I said, 11 different values, and they can pick which one they see fit for it. A fee appraisal would do the same thing. You get, depending on which method you take, you're gonna see a little bit of a variation. We usually consider our data quality good if all of our values are within 10% of each other. Then we think our data is pretty trustworthy, and that's one of the things we shoot for. But yeah, you're gonna see a $200,000 home might have a range of $190,000 to $210,000 on the options there, and they're gonna pick one of those values and set it on that property based on all the information we have and what they see fit for it.
So in the grand scheme of things, what's I'll put you on the spot a little bit, what the single most cause of higher valuations on a home without any new construction? Is it?
Market.
It's the market
alone, yep.
And so
when sale prices are going up, when people are paying much more for properties, which we've seen very strongly in the last 5 years, about the last 6 years now, that drives valuations up.
So a home of like size, square footage, and amenities sells for a higher rate a couple blocks away, which then pushes the like homes in the area up without any construction change.
Yep, market alone is the #1 driving factor for valuation increase.
So the 10% that you're governed by statute drives, that's your guideline. So how does that not happen on the opposite side? I know this is just a broad question. If you're held at 10%, then how is the market not structured that way around that?
Market's open. Market's whatever a willing buyer and seller are willing to pay for a property. Our 10%, we're not locked into it. If the market, say, jumps 25% one year, we have to raise our values at 25%, if that's what it's showing in that area. The 10% is our goal. So they look at that. Every one of our sales that go through, goes back to the state. And so like every value we just set for this year as of January 1st, when it sells during the 2026 year, they're gonna take the value that we just certified to Lisa and compare it to that sell price. And they hope that we hope that our value we chose was within 10% of that sell price.
I keep getting told that it's a 30% variance where you guys come with what the home's valued at, and then it could be within 30%. And generally, that's kind of a number that gets used a lot in our area. And I did some research and looked into that. It's pretty common for a home.
Our valuations have tended to be, they've got as low as 30% below the market, because every year I get a sales ratio, and that's what says if I'm in compliance with the state or not. Right. And 2-3 years ago, we were coming up in the upper 70s, 70%. So we were roughly 23-25% low on our valuations compared to what they're selling for. That's why you've seen, everybody's seen valuations increase pretty regularly over the last 6 years. It's getting better. Our ratios are coming in a lot stronger right now. We're about 89% on our most recent. So we're still low based on that, but we don't like to just skyrocket the values either. I don't want to raise it. We don't want to raise them so high and then a market crash, and we turn around and drop in valuations 20% all of a sudden because all of our values were way too high, and then it creates a bigger issue for everybody that's setting budgets too.
Well, I appreciate you said that too, and that's kind of the reason why I asked for you to come and explain your portion of this, because our property taxes are driven off two elements: the valuations of the property and then the budget that's
Yep.
constructed by each municipality and how they spend their money. Those are the two variables that create where
Correct.
we're at with property taxes. So the one thing that this commission can do affect is how the budget is ran.
Correct.
We can't affect your side. I just want to make sure that's clear.
Yeah,
Everybody
yeah.
understands.
Yeah. Yeah, and all of our process is driven by state statute. I mean, we can't really be forced to, by you guys to hold valuations down or something like that, because the PVD comes in and oversees all that on our part.
I appreciate you explaining that.
Hopefully that kind of makes sense. It's quite a process.
It's convoluted, but it does.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Any
no
more
problem.
questions? All right, thanks a lot.
Thank
Lisa.
you.
Thanks. All right. Moving on, consider the following. A, Atkinson Municipal Airport FAA grant. Consider staff request to sign and apply for an FAA grant in the amount of $655,500 of federal funds for the completion of the construction, engineering, and various administrative costs associated with rehabilitation of runway 17/35, runway 17 turnaround at the Atkinson Municipal Airport, and authorize, and the staff and city attorney sign, except for FAA grant.
Mayor and Commissioners, we're really kind of excited about the stuff that's going on at the airport right now. We've got quite a few capital improvements that are happening. The best part about all of this is that the majority of them at this point are 95% paid by the FAA, all right? The city's share for these ones that we're talking about is 5%. We have we've had several large projects going on out there, and we continue to have some. There's some coming down the road. The FAA process is a bit different than a normal grant process in that you have to get the grants, or you have to get the bids in first before you actually get the grant. It's a little strange. That isn't how it normally works. But actually, it turns out to be a very effective way of doing it, because then you get the grant for what the dollars are that you actually need, right? And it really is an effective way of process that we undergo to get these important improvements done. The airport has had some serious degradation in certain areas, and these projects are directly addressing those. The city selected Olson Engineering a long time, several years ago, to be our airport consultant, and Brian has graciously agreed to be here to kind of explain and walk through a little bit of the process and what the specific projects are that you're going to be looking at and approving today. And Bill is here if you need to have any real questions about what's going on.
Yeah, thank you, Jay. Mayor and Commissioners, happy to be here this evening. My name is Brian Coombs, and I'm a lead engineer with Olson. And as Jay mentioned, we're your engineering consultant at the airport. So items A, B, and C are all related for this first section to the same project that we're talking about. And as Jay mentioned, I will reiterate that a little bit in the context of the way the FAA does business. The grant is more like the contract that they use between the FAA and the city to deliver the funds to you. So some of you may recall at the the first meeting in December, I believe it was December 9th, you authorized an engineering agreement with Olson to perform the design and bidding for this project. So we proceeded and did that design phase, and we have received bids. And so therefore, tonight, we have actual hard costs in front of you, known costs, which were represented in the grant application here today. So this grant that you're applying for would reimburse 95% of the engineering costs for that design bidding phase that you authorized with us back in December. It would cover 95% of the cost of the actual construction, which is the next item. And then it would also cover 95% of the engineering costs associated with the construction phase, which are construction observation, materials testing, and some closeout and grant administration services. So, and that's covered in item C. So this is the same process that we've gone through this a few times over the last 3 or 4 years for the apron improvements and the taxiway improvements and whatnot. So it is a standard process that we've been through for improvements, FAA-funded improvements at the airport. And so what we would ask tonight is authorize city staff to sign this grant application, send that into the FAA. And then what happens is the FAA takes a period of time to process and prepare the actual grant agreement that they would send back. And so historically, in your motion tonight, we've authorized signing the grant and then authorizing the city staff to accept that forthcoming grant offer when it comes back later this summer.
Brian, what's the time frame when you apply for this grant that you hear back from FAA if you're awarded?
Yeah, so we actually, we require a 90-day bid hold on those bid openings, which is a little uncommon. Typically, I would assume if you're doing a normal city bid opening, you've probably got a 30-day bid hold, which requires that contractor to honor their price for a period of, so in this case, contractor is required, if they submit a bid, they have to honor that price for a period of 90 days. So we will receive that final grant offer back within that time frame and accept it. And then we've worded items B and C to say, you know, authorize these pending concurrence from the FAA and receipt of the grant offer. So that if for some reason that went haywire, which it hasn't in my experience, if for some unforeseen reason that did, then you wouldn't be obligated to proceed with those other contractual agreements if the grant fell through, which, and again, I'll reiterate, so part of your requirement to continue to receive your annual allotment of federal funds from the FAA is that on an annual basis, we submit a capital improvement plan to the FAA that takes a detailed look for the next 5 years. So this project has been on our capital improvement program for 4 to 5 years now, so we're realizing that planning effort. So the way a normal project cycle works is around August, the FAA will send the city a go letter, which says this project's on your capital improvement plan, commence with design and bidding efforts. And then in the spring, which coincides with the federal budget of when those funds have been allocated for the AIP, they'll say you'll receive the grant at that time. So we received that go letter from the FAA last year that said proceed with design, this project will be funded. So again, it's not like we are doing all this work just hoping to get awarded. We've gotten advanced communication from the FAA that the funds are programmed. So the only way that process can go south is if we get to the end of the road and we've come in way over budget, more than what the FAA had programmed through that process. Then we can get into a situation where we're trying to figure out how do we close that funding gap. In this particular case, we're tremendously under the budget that we had programmed, so which is good news. So that's not an issue. The funds have been programmed in excess of this amount from the FAA, so there's no anticipation on my end of any hiccups of receiving that grant offer.
Is this, you're just doing runway 17/35, right?
Yeah, let's see here.
We're not seeing it well there.
Sure, and I have some PDFs as well. Where are they? Over here? Okay. So this is an aerial view, and then I'll open up a PDF that'll show that a little better. So,
okay.
I'm sure you all are familiar, but our airport has 2 runways. This is, so this that I'm highlighting here is 1735. The numbers designate each end of that runway. That's called our primary runway. It's 6,200 feet long. So that's the runway that jets need to operate on because of its length and width. This other runway here is 4/22. It's your crosswind runway. So it's shorter in length, narrower in width, and so there's some of your larger jet traffic that you receive both based on the field and then your itinerant just business jet traffic that comes in from all over, may not always be able to operate on that crosswind runway. So the project that we're doing is taking care of the primary runway, and then this is what we call the turnaround at the 17 end, as you read that in the project title. So the improvements consist of filling any existing minor cracks with crack sealant. There's actually quite a couple dozen larger cracks that are starting to cave in, so we're going to do a partial asphalt patch on those where we'll mill some asphalt out, put some back and patch that in, and then we'll do a seal coat over the top of all of that, and then we'll remark new paint on that as well. So that is the scope of the improvements that's happening.
So the runway, is it all asphalt or is it concrete?
It's all asphalt. And some of the asphalt's original from like the 40s, I think, when it was built.
What happened
It's
to
been
the planes
overlaid
that-
and rehabbed over the years, but it's pretty incredible. It's been lengthened multiple times. Oops.
What happens to the planes that need that extra length while you're in the construction phase?
Yeah, so that's a big disruption. So this exhibit that you're seeing here is a excerpt from our plan set. So this is a phasing plan. So we'll construct the improvements in 2 phases. The red is a phase, and the blue is another phase. So you're absolutely right. Unfortunately, there's no way to build this without and then still safely operate aircraft on it. So the primary runway has to shut down. And so what we put here in the bottom, if I can zoom in here. So this shows the contractual days that are allowed to complete the construction. And if it doesn't get completed in this time frame, then there'll be liquidated damages assigned to the contract. So we've set this up as calendar day construction. So because of the magnitude of that disruption, of that primary runway being down, the contract is established based on calendar days. So every day that clicks off the calendar counts. So they get that 28 days. So that should incentivize the contractor to pick like a hot summer dry time frame to do this work and not start this project, you know, during
So
adverse weather.
Is the secondary runway amenable to small jets?
It could handle some small jets. I believe it's 4,500 feet long and 75 feet wide. So there could be some potential small jets that operate if the weather cooperates. Definitely not in adverse weather. But yeah, large jet traffic would be disrupted for that period. So Bill does a very excellent job of communicating with both the tenants and just the stakeholders at large. So I know he's already talking to them, planning for this improvement, which the other thing that I didn't mention is because of that 90-day process that it takes to receive that FAA grant, so it'll be 90 days before we send a contractor an award. By the time then we sign a contract, we're into potentially September or October. So that means we're not going to start a project of this nature with asphalt and hot seal coat in the fall. So all that to say, construction would happen a year from now, essentially. So we're going to have the funds, we're going to award the contract, then we'll sit tight for a while until we get back to construction season next year and construct this. So Bill has a very long amount of time to communicate with people in advance that this is coming. He's started doing that.
Yes, so what we'll do is we'll contact the local base jet operators and relay to them what the process is going to be. And some of those may have to pull off of the airport for that time so they can keep operating.
In the interim, though, the 1735 will be safe for jets to land on. Is that right?
Correct.
So,
From now until they start?
Until construction.
so
Yes.
you're saying, Bill, that some of those jets out there that needs this runway, will they have time to maybe move to some?
Well, that's what
Yeah.
we're already in talks with them now.
Right.
So, and we're still, roughly a year away.
Yeah.
So I will give them plenty of time. They can make arrangements if needed. Some of the aircraft are flying on a daily basis, so
Right.
they have to be able to operate. So we'll pull off to another airport.
Yeah, okay.
That's the only way. We hate to do that. But,
Sure, but yeah, yeah.
But to get the job done, then.
Well, you can't leave them sit there for whatever
No,
length
no.
of time
Right.
it takes to fix that. So.
Yep.
So the way this grant process works and the way it's it's off against normal grant processes, but do you perceive there to be any change order requests or anything that after construction starts? And how's that process work by the way this is being operated?
Yeah. So my goal is to not have change orders, but obviously things happen that you can't anticipate. We try to be conservative when we're estimating a project like this. We add extra quantity for crack sealant because a year from now there's probably going to be more cracks on the runway that need filled than what we see today. So we try to build some of that contingency in, potential that there are change orders. If that happens, it's not uncommon for a change order during construction to happen, and so we reach out to the FAA, we get their concurrence on it, and if they tell us, yes, this is eligible, we concur, proceed. Sometimes we come in under still the overall grant budget, like we may come in under budget from our engineering side, And so you can absorb that change order within this grant amount. If not, then you can get a grant amendment at the end of the project that will cover that same 95% of what's expended beyond what's allocated.
I couldn't see any historicals that, I wasn't able to find any that showed a big change order that stopped production or extended the time frame that it was shut down, so that's good.
Yeah, thankfully, there is a limit on, I think the FAA, I don't know if it's an absolute hard limit, but like if you exceed 15% of the amount of the grant with a grant amendment, then you may have an issue to work through. But that's a lot, so I would not anticipate something of that.
Thank you.
Kudos to everybody to keep that capital improvement plan going 5 years out and beyond, and having those projects on your radar, and keeping the FAA grants, flowing as far as pushing it forward. So that's a pretty impressive process to get that done. I'd move to approve item A.
Been moved to approve, there's a second?
Second.
Been moved and second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Item B, Atchison Municipal Airport Construction Contract. Consider award of the construction contract for the rehabilitation of runway 17/35 and runway 17 turnaround at Atchison Municipal Airport to American Road Maintenance of Tucson, Arizona, in the amount of $498,486.20, pending FAA concurrence and successful receipt of grant funding.
Yes, Mayor and Commissioners, so this is the second step in that process. You've authorized application for the funding, so this is the award. We're recommending award of the contract to the lowest responsive bidder, which is American Road Maintenance of Tucson, Arizona. Very significantly below our engineer's estimate. So I was obviously much too conservative with my estimation on this project, which in this case turns out to be a good thing. The reason, if I'll just, because I suspect there's probably some concern with that, I think the items that, when I'm looking at this, we received 5 bids. Let me make sure I get my numbers right here. And they're all very competitive and close by, so we didn't have necessarily an outlier bid that was way lower than the rest of the bidders. So part of the reason why I was very conservative with my estimate is we are requiring the use of the FAA specification asphalt, which is can be a different mixture than what's commonly being produced with just KDOT or local city mix. So in past projects, when we've required that, we've seen a very, very high unit price for things such as that. The other item that allowed us to get some economies of scale is that many of these contractors, this is the type of project that they do all across the United States. If you looked at their references that they provided, they've got airports similar to Pittsburgh all over the U.S. that they've done this exact type of project on. So they are kind of tooled up and geared up with all the equipment to do almost every single step of the project. So they're not having to subconsult pavement marking and subconsult crack filling. Most of them had like a local subcontractor for some asphalt. But because of ability for all these contractors to do this work in-house and they're familiar with it and they kind of travel around and knock these projects out, we saw significant savings below some estimated. So I think that's a good thing. I'm not concerned this company is actually doing another project that Olson designed in northwest Kansas right now. So
Going through this packet and going through the research, there's a small group of people that actually do this. And to have this kind of a bidding process is actually, it's a good thing. I mean,
yeah.
Absolutely. But yeah, there's not very many companies that even want to attempt to do this, so.
Yep.
So we're looking at a total of $1,153,000 for both of them, is that correct? For both pieces?
No, the amount of the construction is $498,486.20.
The grant's for $655,000, so that's include the construction will be.
This is included in the grant.
Oh, okay.
So the grant is the total project cost. So your share of the construction, the engineering, and a little bit of administrative is $34,500. So you have, your share would be 5% of this item.
If I recall.
Are there any other questions?
Move to approve.
Second.
Been moved and seconded to approve. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. All right. Item C, Atkinson Municipal Airport Consulting Services Agreement amendment. Consider approval of amendment number 1 to the agreement for consulting services with Ocean Inc. for construction phase and closeout phase services associated with the rehabilitation of runway 17-35 and runway 17 turnaround at Atkinson Municipal Airport pending FAA concurrence and successful receipt of grant funding.
Thank you, Mayor and Commissioner. So this would be the final portion of this project. So as we had discussed back at the December 9th meeting, you authorized an agreement with us to perform the design and bid phase. So again, this grant, when it comes through, will reimburse 95% of that cost. So what's in front of you here with item C is an amendment to that existing design and bidding agreement to add in construction engineering and closeout services. So the construction engineering phase involves what we call construction administration. So that's project management time to prepare your, we assist with preparing all the pay applications for the contractor, your grant reimbursement forms, keeping track of the grant financials, performing all that grant administration. We'll staff a full-time construction observer on site to oversee the work and field any questions from the contractor in the field and document the progress, document the quantities for completion and certify the pay apps. And then we'll do a little bit of limited construction materials testing, which will primarily be some on the asphalt. And then once that process is completed, there's a closeout phase with the FAA where we prepare a final construction report summarizing that process, the financials of the job, and send that to the FAA and then help you with your final grant financials.
Move to approve amendment 1 contained in item C.
Second.
Been moved and seconded to approve. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All
I
opposed,
just
same.
have a question for you. Is the turnaround at the end of 1735, the width on it, is it the same as the runway?
No, it's, I believe it's only 35 feet wide. The runway is 100 feet wide. So runway design criteria are much wider than what they call, this would fit the taxiway design criteria. So much narrower because you're traveling at low controlled speeds. So you don't need the width of pavement needed for a landing or a takeoff.
I'm just thinking about the future for larger jets perhaps at some point.
You have to get to a very large jet to need to go from a 35-foot taxiway to, like, the next step up is a 50-foot taxiway. So that's when you're going to really, commercial service jets are when you get to that requirement, which like Joplin would have 50-foot wide taxiways, and ours are 35.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign.
I thought we already
Yeah.
voted. We already voted, didn't we?
No, we didn't vote yet. Doc had a question.
No, we voted, no.
We voted.
Oh, you
in
didn't
the
yet?
end.
All right, we got it. Item D, Atkinson Municipal Airport, change order number 1. Consider change order number 1 for the reconstruction of the partial parallel taxiway, reconstruction of the city hangar, taxi lane, connector, taxiway, crack repair, and service treatment project at the Atkinson Municipal Airport to place the holding position lines and signs in accordance with the correct design standard for the runways. In addition, an additional amount of $10,752.93, modifying the total value of the construction contract to $2,067,454.05.
Move to approve.
I had a question on surface treatment. Is that kind of like we do on our roads? We spray something on that to extend the life of the asphalt? Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, for that runway project. Actually, we've got some surface treatment on this existing project as well. Yeah, surface treatment is a fancy word for a seal coat. The product that we're using on the runway, the previous project that we just discussed, is P608 is the FAA specification number on that. It's an emulsion, and it's got a little bit of really fine aggregate mixed in with it to provide some friction, but that preserves that surface, yes. So, and I'm happy to provide any background information on this as well for questions.
Is there a motion to approve? Is there a second?
Second.
Second. Been moved and seconded to approve. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Atkinson Municipal Airport Master Agreement Work Order. Consider a master agreement work order with Olson Inc., in which Olson Inc. will perform a focused airport layout plan, update, and narrative report for KDOT.
This is just a work order allowing you to work, to go ahead and do the work.
Yes, apologize, there we go, okay. So if you recall on this one has been in the works for a while. So a year ago, we were successful in applying for KDOT, KAIP, which is an acronym that stands for Kansas Airport Improvement Program. So the state of Kansas, DOT, is allocating $15 million per year statewide right now to divvy out to Kansas airports for improvements. So we applied through that process, and you actually accepted that grant last July for this effort. So that grant allowed for a, I believe, $90,000 total project effort to perform this, and we actually had this proposed scope of services as part of that grant application. So for various reasons, just taking some time, we're bringing that this work order back to perform the services that were awarded to you under that grant. So the KAIP program is a 90% state of Kansas fund, 10% local obligation. So what we're proposing to do, part of another requirement with the FAA is that you maintain what's called an airport layout plan and an airport master plan. So this that you're looking at on the screen is an excerpt from your airport layout plan. It's essentially a plan set that documents your proposed future for the airfield. So this can get, this plan set that you have is 14 plan sheets, and it covers both the airspace requirements of the airport as well as what we call the terminal area. So in talking with Bill and city staff, we believe that currently the airspace is in great shape. We don't need to relook at that. So for instance, our runway lengths and widths are serving our current needs. So we're not spending effort to go and restudy airspace and take a relook at that portion of it. But what we are going to focus on is the terminal area plan. So this drawing shows that entire airport layout. This is another excerpt that shows your current terminal area plan. So this is a close-up view of terminal, hangars, other buildings that facilitate activity on the airport. So it's what we're looking at right now is a situation where we're almost out of space for additional hangar development. If you were to have prospective people that wanted to come and build additional space, there's discussion about imagining what does a long-term future of the terminal building itself look like. We'll take a look at those things, and in addition, there's some land owned designated as airport property over here, I'll say west of the crosswind runway. That's potential for future development as well. Now this development over on this west side takes a lot of initial infrastructure to even start it. It's a big cost to get something going over there, but that's part of what we're going to look at is help hopefully develop a kind of a game plan or a strategic effort in steps to say if we are to develop over there, here's step 1, step 2, step 3, as far as, you know, you need roads, you need utilities to get to that area, you need taxiway infrastructure. So we'll look at all that, we'll update this portion of the plan, and then another effort that we're doing as part of that is, and we've done some coordination with the FAA, so in order to put us in better position where if there's always new federal funding opportunities that come available, and sometimes they come with tight timeframes. So what can often delay that is if you have environmental study steps that you have to go through to be in position to apply for those funds. So one of those steps that can create a hurdle and take a long time is an archaeological and historical study. We're gonna do that on this portion of the airport. It shouldn't expire. It should be good in perpetuity. But then we'll either know if we find something that's problematic that we need to remediate, or not, we'll know that it's clear, and then that'll help us be in a better hurdle to where, once we do develop this plan, prospective opportunities come down the pike, we can have that hurdle out of the way and react more quickly to funding opportunities or business opportunities that may arise. So that's kind of an overview of what we would perform as part of this work order that's being funded by the KDOT.
Is there a cost to that?
There is, and it's included in this proposal, yes.
Okay.
So we have actually environmental, Olson has a pretty big, robust environmental services division, and so we have some in-house folks that specialize in archaeological investigations that'll perform that work, and it's included in the cost that's presented here.
The opportunities for that area on the west side is designed around storage and usage from planes and
Is it large
commercial
enough?
use.
Is it large enough to put other hangars if necessary?
Yeah, so what you're seeing here, these are pretty significant, it's very large. So just for comparison, if I highlight, if you've been out to the airport, this building L and this building K are two of your existing T hangars. So that's like multiple 10 or 12 unit buildings. So just, you can see the size of those and compare how many of those could potentially fit over here, as well as these would be just like individual box hangars, similar to what's down here. Again, the challenge with that area is it takes a tremendous amount of initial cost just to get to that spot to be able to build a building. You can't just go put in a building without a very large infrastructure cost to even be able to access the runway from it.
Is it sloped or is it flat?
It's relatively flat. I mean, I don't foresee any real extensive elevation earthwork challenges to get it ready to go. There's some drainage.
So you'll check for undermining also?
That's a good question. We'll perform that review, part of desktop review, as part of the environmental analysis.
So this basically is just a study to see if you can use that space for additional hangars or whatever.
So that's part of it. We'll do the environmental study on that land area. This is a component study area, but we're also looking at the entire terminal area as a whole. And so part of what we'll do is get some input from a stakeholder committee that the city will put together. We'll receive their input, just like a typical planning process. We would receive their input. I think we have planned for a public engagement meeting as well at the airport to get stakeholder input from beyond just the committee. And then, bake all that input and feedback into a reconfiguration of this plan sheet here.
Thank you.
Motion to approve.
There's been a motion to approve. Is there a second?
Thank you for all the information.
Yeah.
Been moved in second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you, Brian.
All right, thank you all very much.
Item F, resolution number 1303, consider approval of resolution number 1303, promoting tree replacement for city removed trees.
Mayor and Commissioners, one of the things I noticed when I first came to Pittsburgh, especially if you're coming from west, is that you notice right away that we have trees here, and the Sustainability Advisory Committee has had a lot of discussions about trees in the city, and they know that we're cutting a lot down over the last couple of years, and there was definitely some concern expressed that they didn't want the city to lose its character with the number of trees that are in the community, and because of that, they have put together a resolution that makes a recommendation to the city commission to make a verbal statement about the importance of trees and to try to make sure that the city doesn't lose trees throughout the time. The problem is if you start losing trees a little at a time, you don't notice, right? So they want to kind of avoid that tree loss over time. But Tree Moken is here to talk a little bit about that resolution.
Good evening, Mayor and Commissioners. So like he said, I'm on the city's sustainability advisory committee. And like he said, we spend a lot of time talking and thinking about trees and sustainability. So we put together this resolution number 1303. Do they have that in front of them? Okay, perfect. So hopefully you guys have had a chance to kind of read that. So why we think it's important is one, like he said, we have a lot of trees as it stands, but if we continue to have bad storms like we had in the last year where we had to cut a lot of them down in city parks and we had to cut a lot of them down in conjunction with Evergy because they were getting into the power lines and things like that, if we're not forward-minded, we're going to look up and we're not going to have trees in our area. And so like it states, we need to recognize that trees play a big part in the environmental, aesthetic, and economic benefits. And so we're just wanting you guys to consider this resolution. We're also, I don't know if you guys know this, but we're also considered a tree city. And in my research of that, we've been considered a tree city for 21 years. And also in my research, I've discovered that as far as any of our committee members can find, we have not been following the guidelines of being a tree city. And so part of the rules of being a tree city is having some guidance and rules and law and such in place to protect trees and plant trees. And so this could help get us in line if you guys approve that. And I am happy to pull up the website that kind of shows what the guidelines are to be a tree city, just so you guys have something to reference.
What body governs that?
I'll show you.
I've never heard of that before.
I called it up already.
You do? Go ahead, you drive.
No, I think I did it. You said you wanted to do that, so I did
Yes.
it up here. This is
Okay,
this
perfect.
is the standards. It's the Arbor Day Foundation.
Yes, it's the Arbor Day Foundation. And so these are the standards. So as far as any of us can find, we don't have a tree board or department. I know we have a city arborist, but otherwise we have no governing body over the trees. The second standard is a public tree care ordinance, which this kind of would help fill that eligibility requirement. The third one is annual expenditure of $2 per capita on community tree care activities. So as you can see, tree planting and initial care, tree maintenance, tree removal, etc. I think we probably meet a lot of that with the tree removal, but if we have planting and other things like that, it'll for sure probably help us meet that requirement. And then an Arbor Day observance and proclamation. As far as I know, and you guys can correct me, I have not seen an Arbor Day observance in the 12 years I've lived in Pittsburgh. So we are part of the Arbor Day Tree City, but we have some work to do to get back in line.
Can this be part of Pittsburgh Beautiful?
Probably. I haven't spoken with them. That's not one group that I'm not a part of at this point. So that's something I can speak with them. It also could be something maybe the sustainability committee could be considered the tree committee as well, because it's kind of in the same realm and partner with Pittsburgh Beautiful. We have some ideas of how to replace the trees and things like that to save costs. If this is approved, that'll be probably our next step to bring to you of how to make it actually possible. But we have some really good ideas of how to make it sustainable and inexpensive.
That'll lead into my next series of questions.
Yes.
We all can agree that trees are very important to our community, not in our childhood and our adulthood as we slow down and need something to lean up against to slow down our day.
Yes.
In this resolution, it doesn't discuss or have suggestions towards the funding to support this. Have you done surveys and reached out and looked for grants and things that are available?
Not yet, no. Our big idea as of right now would be a city tree farm. At the municipal golf course, there's space there that we can use to make a small tree farm. Why we think that is because it would help save costs on purchasing trees, because trees are not very inexpensive. And so if we're needing to replace each tree that we cut down, in some years that could be quite a few, so it would just help us be able to grow our own saplings to replace the trees that we need to each year. And then we could grow a variety. We have had meetings with Jacob, who is our city arborist, and he talked about how feasible that would be. He talked about how many trees you could plant in a day successfully, which is only about 12 with a good amount of volunteers and the equipment that we already have. So we've done a little bit of research and things like that, but our big plan would be to utilize the facilities and the land we have to grow them ourselves and kind of sustain it that way without having to incur too much cost.
That's a good thought. That's a good thought.
Darren, we do remove dangerous trees every year, don't we?
Yeah.
How much do we spend on that?
Oh, no idea.
How much are we budgeted for that?
We have I think we have 100,000 a year for the last 2 or 3 years for removing. Those aren't as dangerous as they're just on corridors and in areas where we're trying to, utilities, sidewalks. There's just some areas where the trees are just huge. And we've probably, I think walnuts or locust is the next one we're focusing on, but that's 100,000 a year. But I mean, the parks has a maintenance budget where they remove dangerous dying trees all the time, so I don't really have a number outside of that 100.
That comes out of the general fund?
Uh-huh. Everything related to parks and rec will come out of the general fund.
So I did just a little bit of research looking at common trees that we have in Pittsburgh and the cost of purchasing the tree and then planting it and manpower. I also looked into the city's efforts towards securing and removing the dead trees and trees that are obstruction, those things too. So we're looking at some substantial money on both ends. I would be interested in seeing if there is national and state level funding that could be applied towards this to alleviate some of the costs. I wouldn't want to put this entirely on the taxpayers to respond to this. And that's why some of the verbiage in this, as far as the city shall replace them within 12 months, I think that it needs to be as best they can kind of verbiage maybe to support that, because we're looking at upwards of $20,000 to $30,000 within a single year of just the cost of purchase of like trees that we currently own. I think it's a good direction. I think this is a good concept, and we do definitely need to maintain and pay attention to the amount we have and what we're doing with them. With this commission's efforts to try to reduce costs and alleviate additional project funding, and try to do some type of a rotational thing. I'm not sure if this is going to be feasible this year.
If we had an opportunity in the space in Parks and Rec or whatever department wanted to have a tree farm, I think the K-State Extension Service, I think you can buy trees from them at a very reduced cost. They're very small, but they're I know individuals can. I don't know about government entities.
Well, scouting groups can do it. We should be able to do it also.
I think there's opportunity to have civic groups get involved.
And you might think about asking people to sponsor a tree.
Right.
And that was something else I wanted to lead into, having groups sponsor trees in certain areas of the city, so that a group would be essentially in charge of a quadrant, and then they would be the ones that would help go out and try to find people to volunteer time, as well as, I know we can't do that with taking the trees down, obviously, because there's safety concerns.
Right.
But replacing them could be definitely put on and put into more of the weight on the community as opposed
Correct.
to the taxpayers in the city itself.
Yeah, I'm not really asking necessarily for you guys to commit to paying for them. I'm just want you guys to commit to saying that we'll make an effort to replace the tree, every tree we have to cut down in a year. We're not asking necessarily for you to put it in the budget to figure out how to do it. We can come up with solutions. We just want you guys to take a step forward to say, yes, we agree that trees are important and we want to make a resolution. It's not even an ordinance. It's not like a hard law. It's just, we want this to happen, and then our committee and other committees can work towards how the funding and where we get the trees and how we do it in the future. Like I said, I just need you guys to take that one small step to say, yeah, we understand and we want to support
Is
this.
this resolution part of what you showed us on the arbor? Does that fulfill one box that we're not checking currently? I think I saw that somewhere.
Yes, right here.
Right there. So, I mean, it's not, we're not committing anything financially. We're
No.
just simply.
Well, it's a resolution.
Yeah, it's a resolution, and it's not even an ordinance.
But are you saying replace a tree that's been taken out in the last year of stuff that we've already done on major thoroughfares?
No, not even necessarily. This could just be the start from today going forward.
Let's say, for instance, I'm the daughter of a landscaper, and my dad grew up around all that, and so it takes a lot of effort on a tree farm.
Yeah.
And spraying, making sure animals don't eat them, there's a lot involved. Say, for instance, Four Oaks Golf Course. The weather's been detrimental out there. There's
Right.
a bunch of dead trees. Now, I could see, if it's not wet, getting out there and taking out the dead ones and planting new back as a start.
Right.
And then going from there. Mm-hmm. But, all the ones we've taken down, reading this, it made me feel like we already spent $100,000 taking things out, and we want to plant something back that somebody's going to deal with 50 years from now. It's kind of like the same thing going again. So I think you're right in your thinking, and there are a lot of dead trees around. There's a lot of them that upheave sidewalks and whatnot. Sometimes it's just, cutting them away from street lights and
Yeah,
whatnot.
which we understand that there are good reasons that we take the trees out.
Mm-hmm.
We just want to make sure that we're not taking them all out and then we don't have any left.
Yeah.
We understand that weather affects them. We understand we don't want them getting in the power lines. So we understand we're not saying we shouldn't cut down
Sure.
trees. We're just saying we should be considerate and add trees back in, when we have to cut them down, and not even necessarily in the same places
But
either.
I don't know that the city would never want to plant trees back, because there has been tree plantings in the past.
I don't think you're suggesting we plant a tree back in the same place.
No, because if you do that, then in 50 years, we're gonna be cutting them out of the power lines again. But we have plenty of public parks,
Okay, so do you think
stuff like
maybe
that.
a start, the parks for starters?
Yeah, absolutely.
Because
That's
if
a
you
great place, because it's a great place to have trees. We talked to the arborist, there's plenty of location, like
the
to add
manpower
trees.
alone, just cutting down the dead ones that are dead
Right,
and not tearing up the golf course or anything through there. And I'm just using that because I drive that way all the time.
yeah.
But there's other parks that are.
Most of the trees native to this area are pretty much, they take care of themselves pretty well, because you're talking about the various
But
oaks.
once you get them started, you have to
Yeah,
water them
you're
and keep them
talking- so a
maintained.
tree
And I
farm-
don't know that, too, we have the manpower for that right now either.
Well, you plant a tree farm and you leave it alone for a while, and you go out and check it periodically. Some are gonna survive, some are not gonna survive. And then when it's time to plant one, you go out and get one. That's what, I've got a tree farm right now, a small tree farm, not on my place, but someplace else. And I've got trees growing. In fact, I've got a whole bunch of oaks that you're willing to have.
And see, there's been an oak disease. Oak trees have had a disease this last couple years, so.
Every tree's gonna have a disease. Look
Sure.
what happened to the elm trees.
And then there was the pine trees that had, the one that cut the water supply off to the tops. It just is a revolving
Through some
thing.
of my research, I found that the state is supporting and heavily funding Bradford pear removal and replacement program. So we have those all over the city, and those are a one-for-one direct replacement. So you have to drop the tree, take the photos, submit your request, and they will send you a voucher to purchase a tree to replace it. So that's something to look into too, as far as to offset some of this. I would be cautious about, again, I know it's a resolution, but the verbiage in line 1 just suggests the city shall do it within that 12-month period. So I would suggest that we adjust the resolution. The city shall assist with the replacement. Mining funding is available and approved. But again, great effort. This is important. I just want to make sure that we're on track with the funding needs to be not solely on the taxpayer. And
Well, like I said, we're not expecting the city to pay for all of these. There's plenty of other avenues. There's ways to do it. Like I said, I just need you guys to say, okay, we understand and we commit to
Well, for me, I
assisting
think-
as far as we can.
I think you need to come back with those avenues.
I
and
think
tell us-
item,
Could we
I
tweak
think
it?
item one is what everybody's hung up on, Tree. I think as far as, like DJ said,
Yeah.
it makes it sound like the city shall plan to replace.
Well, by having that verbiage.
That's why I was
it does
concerned about the
obligate
main
us.
thoroughfares.
Yeah.
If
So-
you want, we can change the language of it right now. If you
Yes,
want.
we can do that right now and just change it to the city will assist with the
I
replacement.
don't know how to write it.
What
So-
does this, what did assist mean?
The city supports
Support.
Okay,
But the
replacing.
city doesn't pay for it,
No.
you saying?
yeah.
Yeah, if you just change it to the city supports replacement of a tree within 12 months of removal. And that drives you guys to coming up with a plan. We're supporting it by coming up with a plan, but that doesn't
But that
make
doesn't mean
us
there's
have to
any
do it.
consequences if
Right.
that doesn't happen.
Yeah,
Fair, yeah,
I
that's fair.
think that
Change
would
shall to
suffice.
supports.
Absolutely.
sounds good to me.
So you're gonna table it and redo it and then bring it back?
No, I
Okay.
just, we just changed we agree to change the wordage from shall to support.
The city supports
Yeah.
tree replacement.
Then with that change added to a motion, I move that we accept it.
I would second it. Or did you?
I second it.
So it's been
Good
moved.
concept.
I got it.
You got it.
You got it?
I got it.
All right, I appreciate it. Thank you, guys.
Second to approve, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thanks,
Tree.
Tree.
Thanks, guys.
Deposition of bids, consider staff recommendation to award the bid for the US 69 C-CLIP City Connection Link Improvement Program Mill and Overlay Project to Emery Sapp and Sons of Joplin, Missouri, based on their low bid of $490,777.88.
Mayor and Commissioners, yeah, we took bids. This is a C-CLIP funded project. We're receiving approximately $400,000 to help support this project from KDOT. This will be from 4th Street to 20th for the part that we own through on US 69, as well as north of Atkinson up to the city limits. So 4 bids, 4 good bids. So yeah, we're just recommending an award to Emery Sapp, who did all the work last year for us. Did a good job, and their anticipated start date is in September at this point. So, providing it doesn't delay all the rest of the project with the rain we're getting. But yeah, that was a couple weeks ago when they took bids. We're looking at September for a start date.
Sounds good.
Yeah. The only thing with this, I was surprised to see there wasn't a match or a controlled match with the funding from KDOT.
There is.
There is.
KDOT's putting in $400,000.
But on the overall project from Atkinson all the way to, are they're matching the entire project or just?
They're
the-
funding 400 of the 490,000.
I move to approve.
Been moved, is there a second?
Seconding.
Been moved and second to approve, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Thanks, Matt.
Thanks, Matt.
Real estate sales contract, T&K Rentals LLC, consider the request submitted by Larry Seward on behalf of T&K Rentals LLC to purchase a portion of city-owned property at Second Street and North Elm.
Good evening, Mayor, Commissioners. And I also have Tom Hayes here representing T&K Rentals, so he'll come up and share a little something with you. But basically, the property is down in between North Locust and North Elm, so it's kind of to the east of Fun Zone Depot. There's a portion of land that the city owns.
Do you have
And-
something you can put on the screen? We're looking at the airport right now.
No. Well,
Stick this on there, Kim. On the far back. Last very bottom.
Okay.
Okay. Which one?
No idea.
Working?
It's sleeping. I gotta look it up.
Can you guys tell where that is? Anybody tell where that is?
It's fuzzy, but yeah, we can see.
It's fuzzy. Let me see if I can. Does that help?
Perfect.
Yeah.
So that's where those blockades are on North Elm, so that's on the east side. And then you've got your grass lot in between, and then Fun Zone Depot's there on the edge, right there. Does that help a little bit?
Yeah.
Okay. So what questions can I help, or Thomas is also here to help answer any questions that you have, but we had an appraisal done, and they've offered the $17,000, which is appropriate for the appraisal that was completed, and we're requesting the authority to sell it.
This is his primary use is gonna be additional parking for the businesses on site. How many spaces are gonna be? Is it just a gravel overlay and then?
Well,
whatever?
right now, thank you for letting me speak on behalf of TNK. Kim worked with us and Henry on getting this put together. So right now, this is really property as a part of the expansion of Elm Street. So as you know, the Seward family, Larry's vision is, he bought the Monsoor property and has revitalized that, the Sharp property and has revitalized that. He just recently closed on the Jordan property, which is part of this across the street. And they're in the midst of renovating that as well. As a result of moving some of the trades group that next to where Larry started, now it's Brooks Plumbing, back over to this area because of the manufacturing growth at the headquarters, we're gonna need additional parking. This property is available through the city, so we may attempt to make an agreement to expand that. As to when we're gonna get the parking done and the overlay done, that's really visionary. We gotta get the property first, then we gotta raise money and stuff like that, but there's gonna be more people over there. So just looking at Larry's vision, this is what it looks like right now. What you're seeing here, that building is the Jordan property, which he just closed on. And they've removed a number of things from that. That's gonna be renovated. And then his vision is to put a parking lot in this void area, and it will look more like that, of course.
So this is for employees parking?
Correct.
It's a real improvement.
Very good.
Yeah.
improvement.
And so, you know, when I asked Larry, I said, what are you gonna do with this? What I'm gonna tell the city commission that you're gonna do this? He goes, we're gonna put a parking lot and pave it. And I said, when? He goes, when we get enough money to do it, but I want it to look like this. So we rendered this, as you know, I've been in front of you before, and everyone asks, what's it gonna look like in the future? Well, hopefully, based upon Larry's vision, this is what's gonna look like, which is a significant improvement. That's what it looks like right now. And that's what it hopefully will look like in the
That'll be
near future.
1,000% improvement. Yeah.
And then that building will change colors, get spruced up. That's what it looks like from an aerial view, and that will look like the aerial view there. So, lots happened with CDL, the expansion of Elm Street. We hope to grow that area. The manufacturing that's taking place at the headquarters, we've added over 100 jobs there because of the expansion in the data center enclosure building, wire, Thorco, and things like that that the two boys have developed, you know, through their dad's vision of the manufacturing. So things are going well, but we're gonna need to revitalize Elm Street. And so he's in the process of doing it through the partnership with the city.
Okay. I move that we accept it.
Second.
Moved and second to approve, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion
Thanks,
carries.
Tom.
Thank you, Tom.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Commission.
I think that was it, wasn't it?
Do we have anybody for public input? We jumped over that.
Oh, I forgot about that. Way too late now, but I jumped over public input. Is anybody sitting there wanting to talk about anything now on public input?
I didn't see.
I don't see
I
anything.
didn't see anybody there, so
All
I'm not
right.
sure we cover it.
No, we don't.
All right, non-agenda reports and requests.
Yeah, we just have the one. 620 day was this weekend. It was hot, but it was doable. Saw a lot of you there. Appreciate the hard work that our staff put in. It's growing every year. It'll be a little different every year, I was told, because it's not always going to land on a Saturday or be our birthday. But very exciting time, and it seems to be getting more popularity, and there's a ton of work that goes into it. So I just want to recognize all the people that put in a lot of effort on that one.
And we will have numbers from Placer AI to see how many people were there, but we estimate well over 3,000. Commissioner Brooks, thank you so much. She manned Second Walnut
Well, I tell you
for a
what.
lot of hours, and all of you that were able to come and enjoy it. Dr. Sigley, saw you up there too. Chuck, everybody, I saw you too. So it was a great turnout, and the community really came out. There were people from all over, not just Pittsburgh, which was pretty cool. Over 60 plus vendors, and we had a pretty successful event. So we'll know how many people came, but we think well over 3,000. The band Eastern Heights was phenomenal. We got a lot of positive reviews on that as well. So thank you for your support, and thanks Pittsburgh for their support. So.
Well, like Darren said, that took a lot of hard work from employees to put that thing together. I enjoyed being out there. Have you always had a band?
Nope.
Yeah.
So we usually have KKOW will set up by Broadway, and they usually bring their big truck with the speakers and all that, and do kind of like a live remote. And then we've done music, but we've never had an actual band. That was part of the Pitt 150 celebration. So we won't always have a band unless we get a crazy outpouring and everybody wants it. So we hope to have music of some sort just for dancing or just entertainment. I think it makes it more fun.
Like Darren said, I've seen several staff members out there and working hard to make sure all that thing came together. It was a success. Everybody I talked to had a good time.
Yeah,
It's
everybody
good.
kept us safe too. PD and fire were there. EMS helped a lot. So it was a big group effort. Parks, utilities, everybody was there. So it was awesome.
It was well put together. There was a lot of people having a great time out there. The two things I got to tell you, I'm glad you came up. One was that there was a lot of people appreciative that the city's doing this in light of Little Balkans not happening and not being as big of an event. The location was great. A lot of people hadn't been to Miners Park and walked their children through there and seen what's actually there. The other thing that stood out, aside from that, was they wanted to check and see if you had a license for your cart.
Oh, my driving? Yeah. Well, yes, I do.
Yeah.
Right, Chris? Chris loaned it to
Somebody
me, so
signed off on
yeah, I don't know. But we will have, we're going to plan Friday night at Little Balkans Weekend. We will have a downtown street dance with a DJ. So we will have a community event. We're looking at Pitt 150's committee's got some things planned with maybe similar to the night at the Friendly Tavern. And of course, Parks is going to have like pickleball and golf tournament and stuff like that. So we are still going to celebrate Little Balkans here in Pittsburgh as well. This 620 day was just really big and really special, and it fell on a Saturday, so that was exciting. So
great job.
Thank you.
Anything else?
Move to adjourn.
Second.
Moved and second to adjourn. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. We are adjourned.